Welcome to Fantasy Football Live, presented by Ram Trucks. We are already at week 10. I cannot believe I am saying that. It's Thursday night. We're back to the chaos known of having bye weeks. We've got an early game in Munich. Everything that I hate, all coming together in one solid weekend. The chaos is back. Andy Behrens, Sal Vetri. I'm Jason Fitz. For the next 30 minutes, we'll get you caught up on everything you need to know, including some of the questions that you guys have. Get them in the YouTube chat right now. Hashtag AskFFL on social media also. But we're going to be monitoring the chat. We will get the questions in. Andy Behrens, your level of confidence, like you got peppered. We found out on Sunday you have a fan club. People stopped asking FFL and just started asking Andy Behrens, how big is your head? Like, do you have a private trailer now when we come into the show?
Oh, Fitz, you have no idea how many demands I have before this show starts. It's wild. I think the producers spare you all of that. We got a fun game tonight, by the way, and we have a bunch of great Thursday night games coming up. So, like, whatever you think of Thursday night football, man, it's about to get really good. And tonight we have two teams that combined average like 57 points per game. So this thing is going to be a party.
I mean, we'll get into some of the props we like. We're going to get into a bunch of the matchups we like here. But, Sal, usually you hate nice things known as offense on these Thursday night football games. Are you ready for a night where suddenly everything's blowing up everywhere around you?
I mean, yeah, I'm going to look forward to it. I'm going to be looking forward to watching these games, but you're going to have to stay tuned for the show a little bit. There's going to be something when we get to the props that, yeah, in terms of hating the good offense, I'm going to be on that train once again.
I'm telling you, there are certain things you can count on Thursday Night Football. Sal's going to get a dig in on whoever the Raiders play. Thank God it's a bye week for me this week. And then, he's going to make sure that he hates offense. It's all there for you. Again, get into the YouTube chat right now. We'll get your questions answered. We are here on Thursday night because of that juggernaut of a matchup. So let's show you what we've got. We've got the Cincinnati Bengals with their backs against the wall taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Cincinnati at 4-5, Baltimore at 6-3. This game in Baltimore where it's a beautiful 67 degrees clear. The Ravens favored by a fat 6 points. It's been as high as 7 this week. It's 6 right now. Over under on this one is 52.5. And we've got some inactives in this one that are going to be absolutely of consequence. Isaiah Likely, inactive. Zach Moss, the running back for the Bengals, was put on injured reserve. And T. Higgins, yet again, inactive. So, gentlemen, let's break down some of the players to watch for this game. A lot of options here, Sal. Give me somebody you have got your eyes on.
Yeah, I'm looking at Diontae Johnson tonight, and specifically the Ravens wide receiver room in general. It's been changing over the last week since they acquired Diontae. Now, he came over there midweek. He didn't really get many practices in, so he only played 6 routes in that game, saw 0 targets. But if you look at that small sample when he was on the field, he was actually replacing Zay Flowers often last week, according to PFF's data, not Rashad Bateman. Now, we'll see if that continues heading into tonight. I'm not expecting a massive role for him since it is still a short week, but I just want to see the trajectory here, because I think Diontae Johnson, somebody who's earned a 26% target share in his career, that's top 10 since he entered the NFL. I think he's a talented receiver. I don't buy the reports that he's behind both Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman on this depth chart, and I want to see if we start to get some more clarity in this wide receiver room tonight and maybe some more life into Diontae Johnson's fantasy value the rest of the season.
Yeah, as somebody that has Rashad Bateman in a few leagues and is constantly just confused by whether or not he shows up, this is bewildering to me. Okay, I'll give you a name to watch in this one along with a story. All right, Sunday, we're connected. We're doing this FFL as we do every Sunday. And our great Tara Roberts starts talking about a player to watch on Sunday. And she pointed out Mike Gesicki, the tight end of the Bengals. And she was so brilliant that I'm be honest with you. I tried, even though I'm doing 30 things with this show at once, I tried to pull my phone out and get Gesicki, see if I could get him in my league during the Sunday show. I was not able to do that. And then Gesicki went off against the Raiders, which is easy to do. But when you start looking at this defense for the Ravens and how bad they are when it comes to plays, average yards per attempt that they give up, average yards per completion that they give up, average yard per drive is staggering for them. The Ravens defense is a liability. Ed, Gesicki has stepped up and been able to take a lot of these T. Higgins targets. We already told you T's not going to be in this game. Mike's going to have a big game. He's going to eat. The Bengals' only path to winning here is scoring 40-plus points. The only way they get that is if Gesicki continues to eat. I love this play. Tara was right on Sunday, and I'm just stealing her math, and I'm using it for my own algebra test on Thursday because the logic still works. And thanks to Dan and everybody behind the scenes for putting all the pictures of him crushing the Raiders up. It's not. That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Andy, give us somebody to watch.
Yeah, let's just take a moment to appreciate Chase Brown, who has been a must-start back in fantasy since leapfrogging Zach Moss and claiming the top spot in Cincinnati's backfield a few weeks ago. Over his last 6 games, he's averaging 18 touches, nearly 80 scrimmage yards per week. He scored 6 touchdowns during that stretch. Brown is coming off a monster game against the Raiders, Fitz, in which he gained 157 total yards, caught 5 passes, reached the end zone. This has been one of those cases in which the surface stats look good and the underlying stats fully support them too. Just in case anyone is feeling reluctant to start Brown tonight against the NFL's #1 run defense, which I would understand, here's just a little pep talk for you. Baltimore actually allows the 4th most receiving yards to opposing running backs, including 3 touchdowns on the season, and they have given up the most receiving yards to running backs over the past 3 weeks. I mentioned those 5 receptions in the last game for Chase Brown. He's just a dynamic player and excellent in the screen game. He's going to remain a big piece of the game plan for this team, regardless of score, regardless of game situation. So you can trust him as a multi-purpose threat tonight.
All right, Andy, speaking of things we can trust, it's time for bringing the props. We may not know the noise, we may not know the funk, but we know how to bring in the props. And Andy, my friend, you are on a 3-week streak. You are absolutely killing, and not even just with kicker props. I'm impressed. So, all right, it's bringing the props time. Give me a prop you like this week.
Yeah, the thing is, it's rare for me to not take either a kicking prop or a quarterback rushing prop here. But so maybe I'm feeling a little overconfident this week, but I'm doing it. Give me Chase Brown over 23.5 receiving yards. Listen, 8 different running backs have exceeded this total against the Ravens this season. This is how running backs go off against Baltimore. Brown himself just topped this total last week. We just discussed how Baltimore has allowed the most receiving yards to running backs over the last 3, so this number highly attainable for Brown. Again, pretty much every featured back who faces the Ravens hits this total, and Brown is catching multiple passes each week. It's also a number so low that he can plausibly get there on just 1 catch. Again, this is not my wheelhouse. No kicker is involved in this prop, but I am feeling good about it.
All right, Sal, you are up, and I know how much you love offense. So give it to me, brother. Give me a prop in this game.
Yeah, Zay Flowers, the man just keeps going over 100 yards, but tonight we're taking his under receiving yards. It's set at 61.5 receiving yards tonight, and it's for a few reasons. Part of it is what I talked about earlier in terms of Deontay Johnson. I do think he's going to run more than 6 routes tonight, and even if that's only 10 to 15 to maybe hits close to 20 routes, this is a guy who earns targets, whether it's with the Steelers across 5 or 6 different quarterbacks, multiple quarterbacks with the Panthers. They love throwing Deontay's way because he gets open and it's easy to throw his way. So if he's on the field, that's just going to shrink the target share slightly, sure, but that's going to affect the receiving yards of Zay Flowers. But that's not the only piece here. This is a Thursday night game. This is a short week. Typically, we see offenses and passing attacks, for the most part, struggle. Now, I know this is the #1 offense in the NFL, but it's still an offense built on the run. And although Zay Flowers is coming off of back-to-back 100-yard games, normally his prop is set at around 48, maybe the mid-50s. This one is a little bit inflated because of the past 2 weeks. And the Bengals secondary, you look up the past month of the season, a top 10 unit, I think the under's the move here.
All right, so if you're going to kill joy, I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to bring the joy down in our heart all the way back to the Cincinnati Bengals, because I was stunned, y'all, when I saw Joe Burrow at 1.5 passing touchdowns. Like, did I miss something here? I know that there was the benefit of free football the last time these two teams went to overtime, but still, you're talking about a 5-touchdown game the last time that these two teams played. Joe Burrow threw for 5 of them. You're talking about Joe Burrow just came off of throwing 5 of them against my beloved Raiders. Now, over the course of this season, more often than not, the way that the Bengals win football games is, I don't know, Joe Burrow throwing a bunch of touchdowns. There's a reason he's thrown for 20 of them so far this season. I know the Bengals aren't particularly good, but don't get it twisted. The Bengals offense is not the problem here. Joe Burrow is not the problem. In fact, Dan Orlovsky this morning had a long take on why if the Bengals had a better record, Joe Burrow would be an MVP candidate. That is how good Joe Burrow is playing right now. He is going to carve up this Ravens defense that absolutely doesn't look like itself under their new defensive regime. So I love 1.5. That one's easy for me. From easy to hard. Let's get to some tough spots. These are roster decisions that we are grappling with as we answer your questions. We also have our own internal debates we're trying to figure out. Andy Behrens, give me a tough spot, a roster decision you're just sitting there and you feel torn on.
Yeah, I have kind of a gross one for you, and this is a choice that I have in 2 leagues. One of them is a super flex, which I feel like excuses the grossness of the question. The other is a 16-team league in which Jordan Love is on a bye for me, and the choice is Drake Maye or Aaron Rodgers. Maye coming off 95 rushing yards, so that's kind of his upside, right? He's got that dimension to his game. He's also facing my Chicago Bears, so it's a bit of an emotional hedge for me if I start him. I always like doing that. Rodgers, he's just 200 yards and 2 touchdowns every week. You know what you're getting, but it's like no more, no less. So do I take the sure thing points, or do I kind of go on the Drake Maye roller coaster?
I mean, don't you go on the roller coaster, Sal? Like, I like the roller coaster. Come on, go with the ups and downs here. Are we really going to take the Jets out of purgatory this quickly? I don't feel good about that at all, Sal.
Yeah, I mean, I first saw this and listening to it, and I was like, yeah, of course you're gonna go Drake Maye. He's averaging a top 12 finish in his 3 completed starts. Andy said he's coming off of the 95 rushing yard game, but then you look into it a little bit more, and he's facing the Bears, who allow the least efficiency in the passing game this year. He's facing the Bears, who Andy's beloved Bears. You're gonna root against your own team this upcoming weekend. I mean, that seems tough as well if you add that in. But if you just take that out, you take the emotions out of it. The other side of this is Aaron Rodgers, who I had to look back. Last Thursday night, he threw for 3 touchdowns. Finally got it going with Devontae Adams. That was his first 3 touchdown game since 2021, week 16, including the postseason of 2021. He seemed to be getting it going. He has a much better matchup this week against a Cardinals bottom 10 secondary. So yeah, I think you factor this all in. It's a slight thing here. I mean, the ceiling, of course, is going to go to Drake Maye. So really, it's probably team specific. But if I have to choose one in terms of rankings, I have Aaron Rodgers ranked ahead of Drake Maye right now.
I'm not used to my team being good enough that I have to worry about what any of this means for my actual football team, boys. That's what happens for me. All right, I need your help. I need the experts to weigh in because I'll be honest, I love covering college football. And if you guys haven't checked out the College Football Power Hour on Yahoo Sports, you should. Like, I love the work I do in college football, and I love it when I get into fantasy draft season, when I get into dynasty keeper leagues, any sort of time where I can be the smartest person in the room. I made an evil maniacal laugh when I drafted Ray Davis, who I've nicknamed Sweet Baby Ray Davis. Covered a lot of his highlights at Kentucky. I knew exactly what I was getting, and I felt good about it. The problem is, I can never figure out when to put him on my damn roster. See, because, like, he's sitting on my bench, and then he does 16, 17 points a couple of weeks ago. So then last week, when it didn't look like he was going to project out that much, it was like, it doesn't matter. He's Sweet Baby Ray Davis. He's going to come through for me for virtually nothing. So I'm just in a world where my leagues are so tampered down that I don't have a lot of running back options. Is it worth just taking a flyer on Ray Davis and just shoving him in there?
Well, I mean, I guess the issue with Ray Davis is he's getting 6 touches a game, right? So he's tied to a great offense. He's a playmaker. You can flex him in a pinch. He's also one of those sort of key understudy running backs in our game, right? We've already seen him produce 150 plus yards in that game against the Jets. That was an absolute coming out party. So we don't really have to speculate what a full workload game would look like from Ray Davis. It's spectacular. I just think he's in that club of backup running backs with guys like Jalen Warren, Tyler Algier, maybe only a few others who absolutely have to be stashed. I don't think I would plug him into my lineup unless I was truly desperate. We're in one now with 4 teams on bye, so maybe you are desperate this week. But I wouldn't go all in on him. No, not at his current workload.
I mean, I'm sitting there looking at, in one of my leagues, I'm looking at Ray Davis, Austin Eckler, or nobody. Like, I don't even have anybody else. There's just nothing else. I got nothing else, Sal. Like, I am up against the wall with Sweet Baby Ray.
Yeah, I think in that league, I'm still going Austin Eckler just because I feel secure about the 6 to 7 plus touches Eckler's getting. And it's been more than that lately, even with Robinson active. And Robinson is trending to play this week. That's Brian Robinson. But, he's probably not going to be 100% give this guy 20 carries, at least odds are. So Eckler in that specific league, but you can't be dropping Ray Davis. The guy has to stay on your team at this point because, as Andy was saying, a very short list of running backs. The names that Andy mentioned and Jalen Warren, Tyler Algier, I'll throw in guys like Blake Corum, Braylon Allen, heck, even now Jordan Mason. Something happens to the running back in front of Ray Davis, and that is James Cook. This guy's a potential league winner the rest of the season. We saw a glimpse of that. He's averaging 5.8 yards per touch. Of course, a couple of really big plays will skew that, but that's top 10 in the NFL right now. He's dynamic, but until James Cook, if he's out there, James Cook, it's really hard to start him. Just 6 touches a game is what you're probably getting.
I'm going to need James Cook to just take a month off for no good reason, just for my fantasy team. Sal, give me a tough spot you're in.
Yeah, this one might be my toughest decision of the year, so it's a good time to, kind of voice this out and get a couple other thoughts on it. This is maybe the league I care about the most, and I'm faced with starting this week either Ladd McConkey, the rookie receiver, the second round pick for the Chargers. He's been great. I mean, the guy's averaging nearly a 30% target share as a rookie, or Josh Downs of the Indianapolis Colts. And I think these guys are similar tiered players. I think they kind of win in similar ways on the football field as well. And Downs is coming off of a game where he saw a little bit less usage in terms of like snaps and routes run, but he still saw 9 targets, led the team there. Joe Flacco threw to him nearly 50% of the time when he was running a route last week. Just phenomenal stuff. These two guys for me are so similar. I know, like, realistically, whoever I pick will probably have a fine game, but I just don't want to get burnt at this point, especially in the league I care so much about. So please, somebody, you guys have to make this decision for me.
Andy?
Yeah, but both of these guys, as you say, both of these guys have really nice floors, right? Downs has hit at least, I think, 60 receiving yards in 5 of his last 6 games. McConkey, absolutely always involved in the offense, huge target share. Both also have kind of thorny matchups this week. It's Buffalo, it's Tennessee. For me, it's slight lean to McConkey, and this is really about just how well Justin Herbert is playing. And it's not, it doesn't always show up in terms of total pass volume. It doesn't always show up in terms of yardage just yet. But ever since the bye week for that team, the Chargers are actually throwing. Like, he hit a bunch of waiver wires early in the season because they were just never letting him hit 30 pass attempts. But that really has not been a question over the last month or so. So now that volume is back there, I think I want to tie myself to Justin Herbert instead of Joe Flacco.
By the way, Manning Productions, clever name in the YouTube chat, agrees, says this Ladd McConkey. He's answering the question for you. He's in this also. He's chiming in on a trade. Let me ask you guys, we got a trade question here from Obi-Wan Kenobi, who I see that name every time we're doing these shows. I really appreciate you watching, brother. Said, just traded Dobbins and Downs for London. Good deal. I have Achane, Bijan, Pollard, and Bucky as backs already. Jaden Reed, Jettis, Ladd, and wide receiver, super flex, 10-man league. So Dobbins and Downs for London. Andy Behrens, good deal.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I generally, if we're talking about like a 2-for-1 trade, especially at this time of year, I want to be on the side that's just getting the best player. I want to be on that one side, because what we should start to think about doing at this stage is we just want to set up the best possible starting roster, right? We care a lot about roster depth early in the season. As we get deeper into the season, we're past the midway point now. I care most of all about what my starting roster looks like. So yeah, give me Drake London.
Look at that. See, Obi-Wan, everybody's feeling good about it. All right, let's get to some Make Your Pick, where we help you guys. You've been asking questions. We've been looking through all of them. We're going to answer some of those questions. And the first question in comes from Larry Vandekamp. Larry Vandekamp says, Brown, Hunt, Montgomery, Tracy, I need to sit to #AskFFL. Larry, first and foremost, that is a power mustache you got, brother. Let's go. All right, Sal, what do you think on this one?
Man, I mean, I don't want to sit any of these guys in almost every single league that I'm in, but if I have to sit one, I'll start with, let's go with Kareem Hunt and David Montgomery, which just sounds absolutely crazy, but I'm rolling with the Young Bucks. I'm going to be starting Chase Brown tonight. Much of the things that Andy said earlier, I agree with. This guy has been fantastic. And Tyron Tracy's matchup's just too good, in my opinion, against the Carolina Panthers, who just gave up over 200 total yards last week to Alvin Kamara. So I never want to sit David Montgomery. I almost have a rule. I guess I'm breaking it. Just don't sit David Montgomery at this point. But considering these other matchups, I have to go with the more explosive running backs, who I believe are just going to see the complete workload and not split like a Montgomery. And then Kareem Hunt, he's been fine. He's been great, really, but a tougher matchup. I'll go with the younger guys.
All right, let's get the next question in from Willie the Dilly, which is just fun to say. Zay Flowers, Cooper Kupp, CeeDee Lamb, Chuba Hubbard need to start 3 of them. Andy?
Oh, this is tough. CeeDee Lamb is really the question, right? Because he's dealing with the shoulder injury. Did not look comfortable last week. Also has to deal with Cooper Rush at quarterback and not Dak Prescott. That's a little bit terrifying. But he actually has a pretty good history with Rush. I think he's the one guy who's going to be able to survive this just fine. So I'm playing Lamb. I'm definitely playing Cooper Kupp in a really fun shootout of a game. And then it's Chuba Hubbard or Zay Flowers. I'd probably just go Zay Flowers here, and I leave that Munich game alone. Now, Hubbard has been outstanding. I'm not saying, and I'm not trying to denigrate Chuba Hubbard here. He's been great, just got paid today. But I think I want to go Zay Flowers for the multi-touchdown upside, many reception upside.
All of Europe is hoping that they could just leave that Munich game alone. One more question in from Daniel. Daniel says, pick 2 for a flex. Full PPR, Javonte, Bucky, Taysom. What do you think, Sal?
Yeah, I'm going to be starting. This sounds crazy, but Taysom Hill for one. He's the only option in that passing attack, it seems, right now that I trust. And then Bucky Irving, I'll be starting these two guys. And I can go on analysis and on about how Bucky Irving has been so dynamic, explosive, even on just like 8 to 12 touches can get you there. But this is really just a play against Javonte Williams. I'm a little bit concerned right now. Like, he had 84 total yards last week on 14 touches. Like, that's great, 6 yards per touch. But the snaps, the routes keep dropping. Half of his yards last week kind of came on this broken play, check down pass. And this week he takes on the Kansas City Chiefs, who allow the second fewest rushing yards per game. I'm concerned. They're saying they're getting Audric Estime more involved. I'm sitting Javonte where I can.
All right, so we're getting a bunch of questions. We'll continue to answer those. But first, we got to get to the weekend injury report. Some substantial news out there for everybody on the injury front. Trevor Lawrence, unlikely to play for everybody that's got some Jags there. Michael Pittman with the back injury. Chris Olave, highly unlikely to play with the concussion. And then the big news, Christian McCaffrey expected to play. So Andy Behrens, now that we know Christian McCaffrey is expected to at least give it a go, how should people be approaching the running back position for San Francisco this weekend?
Yeah. So first of all, this is great news. This is also news that depends on Kyle Shanahan not lying to us. So hopefully that's not happening. He's been lying to us all year. Assuming McCaffrey goes, you got to figure it's going to be 2-3 weeks of him ramping up to something close to his usual workload. And then, man, Jordan Mason's been so good that I don't know why he wouldn't simply remain a complementary piece in the offense, save some wear and tear on McCaffrey. Hopefully we just get McCaffrey to January, to late December at full strength, right? That's what they should probably be thinking, although they're 4-4, so maybe they don't have the luxury to do that. But Mason has been really good, like 5 yards per carry. All the underlying stats look great for Mason. So I would have to imagine that Jordan Mason sticks around as like a 6 to 10 touch player, and McCaffrey gets the rest, which some weeks is going to be 18 or 20 touches. I'd play him right away this week. I mean, if I'd waited 9 weeks on Christian McCaffrey, I'm definitely throwing him in the lineup.
That's going to be wild. Be sure to hang out with us Sunday morning. We'll have the latest, greatest for you as we get close to that game and have better expectations of what to expect from him. In the meantime, let's turn to our fantasy game changers for this week, powered by Ram Trucks, where we identify some of the most impactful players in one of the top fantasy matchups on the schedule. We've got that 49ers matchup off the bye week facing Tampa Bay in the 1 p.m. window game. That's a game at Tampa Bay. Both teams sort of clinging to life, trying to figure out what it looks like. The 49ers is 6-point favorite. Obviously, Tampa Bay dinged up. The over-under on this one, 51. So, Sal, a fantasy game changer for you would be
Brock Purdy, the 49ers quarterback. Like you said, they're coming out of the bye, and probably no team needed this bye more than the 49ers, just in terms of health. We just talked about Christian McCaffrey. He's expected to play. Deebo Samuel got banged up before the bye. He's practicing, expecting to play. They should be getting back Juwan Jennings, and just another week for George Kittle, who's been crushing and dominating this year, but another week on that bye to rest his foot. So they got everybody coming out of the bye week. I'm interested to see even what happens with the first-round wide receiver, Ricky Pearsall. He had 77 total yards before the bye. Maybe they bump up his role a little bit. This is already an offense that ranks top 5 in the NFL in efficiency per passing play on offense, and that's with all these guys hurt. That's with Ayuk not performing well to start the year, and then him getting hurt, and now they're getting these guys healthier, and it's the perfect time. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers allow the 3rd most passing yards per game. We just saw last week in prime time. Patrick Mahomes had his best fantasy day of the season, had his first 3 touchdown games since week 7 of last year, including the postseason against this Bucs secondary. I think Brock Purdy, who's been great all year, has another good week. He's my quarterback 6 on the week, but wouldn't be shocked if he finishes as a top 3 guy.
So I love your pick of Purdy, but I'll go to the guy he's going to be throwing to. You mentioned Kittle's been absolutely destroying it. That's why he is my fantasy game changer on this. And I know every week I talk about targets, but guys, it's also efficiency of targets. When you look at it, last week, 6 catches on 7 targets. The week before, 6 catches on 7 targets. Notice the theme. The week before, 5 catches on 6 targets. Like, every time the ball goes to George Kittle, he catches it. You're talking about every time that they need an efficient play, it's there. And as much as people will say, well, if McCaffrey comes back, that could take some of the work away. I think if McCaffrey comes back, it only makes it easier for Kittle. Kittle is playing lights out. And because the 49ers have been so injured and their record doesn't look like we thought it should be, we're not paying enough attention to the fact that absolutely week in, week out, a guy that doesn't have a floor, only has a ceiling, is completely dominant, is Kittle. I think it's one of the safest plays you can have in fantasy football this week and so far through the season every week. Andy Behrens, give me your fantasy game changer.
Yeah, first of all, I fully endorse any Iowa tight end. That's a great call by you, Fitz. I'm going to take the tight end on the other side of this game and talk about Cade Otton. He's the guy who's actually stepped up as much as anyone for Tampa Bay with both Chris Godwin and Mike Evans out over his last 3 games. How about 31 targets, 25 receptions, 86 receiving yards per game, and 3 touchdowns. We definitely do not have a lot of tight ends producing at that level. Honestly, it's literally just Kittle and Cade Otton right now. He now has the 3rd most targets among all tight ends on the season, and he's been great after the catch too. Otton is 2nd among all tight ends in red zone targets behind only Kittle, and he leads the position in targets inside the 5-yard line. So he is seeing the ball where we want him to see it. Over the last 3 weeks, there simply has not been a more valuable tight end in fantasy. He's an obvious game changer.
All right, so those are your fantasy, those are your game changers. Absolutely can't miss on those. From there, let's go to some bold predictions. All right, guys, this is where, Andy, remember, you're going to give us a huge bold prediction, something people wouldn't expect to see. What do you got for us?
I have been so bold all year that I don't think I've got one of these right, by the way, just for the record. I had to actually rush into this show's planning document this week so that I could beat Sal to Tyrone Tracy, who we've both been hyping on different platforms. But I did it. I finally did it. He usually gets in there really early. My prediction is that Tracy finishes as the overall RB1 this week in that early Sunday game from Munich. In fact, I think the Germans may actually bestow upon him some sort of title, some sort of European nobility, maybe make him an Archduke, a Baron, something like that. This is going to be a huge week. Tracy obviously facing the Panthers. That is a defense that allows the most fantasy points to opposing running backs by a mile. Also the most rushing yards and rushing TDs to opposing backs. Tracy has just been an absolute revelation. He's getting 5 yards per carry. He is outrushing all of the rookie backs on the season. He's also taken over the Giants' backfield. He just played 70% of the snaps last week, well ahead of Devin Singletary. Again, I think we have a monster weekend coming here. There's a lot of running backs with great matchups, but I think Tracy sets up for 100+ yards, good shot at multiple touchdowns.
I love that. That's beautifully done by you. I'll give you a less bold prediction because it involves the Titans being bad. But here's the thing: the Titans were good on offense last week. They put up 400 yards against the Patriots. They actually had a pretty efficient offensive day. Do not buy into that. The Chargers are about to put up a massive defensive special teams number. Like, this is a comfortable, if you're looking at a defense you want to be comfortable that's going to score you some points, it is the Chargers. The fact is, the Titans, for some unknown reason, were able to run the football pretty efficiently against New England, which helped them set up the play action. That's not going to be there for them this week, and I still don't trust Mason Rudolph to not turn the football over. This is a big opportunity for the Chargers, whose defense has been much better than I anticipated they would be this year, to put up a big number. The Titans offense got away with it last week. I sat there and watched that game thinking, why am I watching this football game? It is wretched. That is going to come to earth. So look for the chart. Look at me. I'm taking defense and special teams. That's a bold prediction. Come on. Sal, give me your bold prediction.
Oh, yes. By the way, yes, Tyrone Tracy was going to be my bold prediction, so Andy knows me well.
Knew it.
I had the T typed in, and it autofilled, and I was like, oh, my God, someone else already got him. All right, but my bold prediction, maybe this one is what I need just for my fantasy teams. Amari Cooper, he finally comes back to life here. 120 yards and a touchdown this week for the Buffalo Bills and Amari Cooper. Look, it's been a very weird start to his Bills tenure. He comes over midweek, only runs 12 routes, but gets you 66 yards and a touchdown. So from there, it's going to get better, right? Well, in week 8, not quite. 1 catch, 3 yards, 2 targets. We find out later he hurts his wrist in that game, and then he sat out week 9 because of that injury. As of right now, he's practicing. It seems like he's trending in the right direction. Fantasy managers like myself missed him last week, and so did Josh Allen. Only averaged 6 yards per attempt, a season low. The leading receiver was Khalil Shakur with just 50 yards. No other wide receiver above 30 yards in that game. They desperately need Amari Cooper, the ex-receiver, probably #1 target moving forward for this team when he's out there, and it's the perfect time for him to come back. The Colts allow the 7th most receiving yards per play. They just gave up 137 yards to Justin Jefferson last week. So right now, Amari Cooper finally gets back into the lineup and produces over 120 yards and a touchdown.
That's great, because now I can make the bold prediction. That means in 2 weeks he'll have like 4 yards receiving. That's the way it works for Amari. 1 week is good, the next week is great. I'll get 2 weeks out on it. All right, let's huddle everybody up. It's time to bring us all together for the Hurry Up Offense, where we can get through as many questions of yours as we can with 25 seconds on the clock per question. And the first one comes from Thermostat Williams, which is just a badass name. Olave out, 2 wide receivers on bye. I got to start Pearsall or Deontay Johnson. Help! Andy, help him.
Well, thermostat, I think what I would do is, listen, in most weeks this is going to be Deontay Johnson, and if this were a normal week, like on a Sunday, and we didn't have the quick turnaround, it would be Deontay, but not a lot of opportunity for them to change up the game plan or the usage there, so I'm going to go Pearsall here.
I think his friends call him Thermo or Stat. I don't know. Jason up next. Ask FFL. Andrews or Gesicki, standard scoring. Sal, what do you think?
A couple tight ends playing tonight. I got to go with Gesicki here. I mean, if T. Higgins is out, I want Gesicki. The way that they were using him, he was only playing like 40% of the routes last week, but they're using him like a wide receiver, motioning him, putting him in the slot. He's playing out wide as well. That's better usage that Mark Andrews is seeing right now.
I love that. Dara's going to keep the tight end love coming with yet another question. This one goes to Andy Behrens, and it's simple. Andrews or Hawkinson? Look at us. We're going back and forth on Andrews. Now it's Andrews or Hawkinson. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, the first thing I'd say is that you have a real trade chip on your hands because Hawkinson is playing we haven't seen the blow-up game from him, but he's playing pretty well, and I think that's somebody that I would take to the trade market, but I would play Mark Andrews this week. No likely, explosive offense. He's been excelling lately, so Andrews, slight lean to him for me.
All right, let's get a couple of YouTube questions in. The first one comes from Will Bowman. Full PPR. I got Kamara, Gibbs, and Chase Brown. Do I play Brown in the running back spot and use one of the other two as a flex because of the Thursday game? Other flex options are Odunze or Douglas. Sal, what do you think? I can run all that back if you need.
No, I mean, yeah, I think you're starting all three of those running backs if your other flex options are Odunze and Douglas. So, yeah, make sure that Brown isn't in your flex spot. You know, standard rule, give yourself some more flexibility there. I thought you were going to ask me between the three of those guys, and then Brown was going to have to sit, sadly. Really good running backs. I'd take all three.
All right, the next one's Mario Lopez. Cannot confirm or deny whether it's the real Mario Lopez. Says Giants D or Bills D this week. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Mario, for years of entertainment. Andy Behrens, what do you think?
Yeah, let's just first of all assume that it's the real Mario Lopez. I mean, they're all real Mario Lopez's, but the famous Mario Lopez. Let's just assume. I'm gonna go Bills D here. They both have relatively friendly matchups. I know I'm getting a lot of dropbacks out of the Colts, and that's what we look for with defensive streaming like this. Bills are an actual like real life good D too.
I want to make a save by the bell joke here. I just can't come with it. Another quick one from YouTube. I got to start two. Oh no, we're on the hurry up back over here. Chief Brody. Here's an ugly one. Need a running back. Herbert, Garendo, or pick up Gibson. Ask FFL. Sal?
Yeah, this is an ugly one. I think you got to pick up Gibson here. I don't think Herbert's playing much tonight. I think he's only been with the team for one practice, if that. And Garendo, at this point, Mason's playing. McCaffrey's back. I think you can drop Garendo and pick up Gibson and play Gibson.
Look at that. With time left on the clock, Sal's running efficiently here. Bo Sox with the next one. Bo Sox says flex Tracy or Flowers PPR. Ask FFL. Ask Andy Behrens.
Yeah, this is the second time in the show that I'm going to pick against Zay Flowers, and it is not intended as disrespect. I think Zay Flowers is a really strong start. I just wouldn't play him here. You heard me make the argument that Tyrone Tracy can actually be the overall RB1 this week. I'm sticking to that. I mean, this could be 100 yards, couple of touchdowns. The ceiling here for me is with Tracy.
All right, one more in from YouTube. I started at Quentin Brown. I got to start two. Chase Brown, McCaffrey, Brian Robinson, maybe hurt, Dowdle. Sal, what do you think?
Got to start two there. I'm going with McCaffrey for sure, and then Chase Brown tonight. I know the matchup's going to scare a lot of people, but as Andy was saying, you can get there in the receiving department, and especially when you compare it to your other options, I think Brown sees a larger workload than Robinson this week, and I just like his offensive environment better than Rico Dowdle's.
If we didn't get your question answered, fear not, you have Sunday. All right, we're going to be back with you from noon to 1 p.m. Eastern as we are every single Sunday. Don't forget, set your lineups early. Saturday night while you're out there rage partying and watching college football, set your lineup because there's a Munich game early in the morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. We'll be back Sunday to break that down and, of course, everything else happening. In the meantime, it takes a whole village to make this show happen. I'm going to learn how to speak. And we're incredibly thankful for all of them that work their tails off to make that happen even when I can't speak. So on behalf of everybody behind the scenes, he's Andy Behrens, he's Sal Vetri, I'm Jason Fitz. Thank you so much for watching Fantasy Football Live, presented by Ram Trucks.